Hi, Boca L Eagles. This is Miss Bennett with our Media Center lesson of the day. So, September 17th is Constitution Day. So, that's a day where you're supposed to learn a little bit more about the U.S. Constitution, which is the basis of the laws of our land. So, we're going to take a couple days, today and tomorrow, and we're going to go through this book called 12 Questions About the U.S. Constitution, and by Kate Connolly. And it says, this tells the story behind the ultimate legal document of the United States. So I see my table of contents here. I know that it has each section and which page it begins on. So we're going to start with answering the question, what is the U.S. Constitution? So let me turn the page. So what is the U.S. Constitution? In May 1787, a group of men met in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. The United States had won its freedom from England just 4 years earlier. With this freedom came many challenges. One of the biggest was setting up a federal government. Important steps were taken at the Constitutional Convention. The country's new government needed to be powerful enough to unite 13 states. It couldn't be too powerful, however. It needed to allow the states the freedom to govern themselves, too. It was a delicate balance. The leaders spent the summer discussing how it should work. The product of their work was the Constitution. It was, and still is, the backbone of the plan of the U.S. government. The Constitution gives power to the President, Congress, and the Supreme Court. It also outlines which powers belong to the states and which belong to the federal government. These were new ideas at the time. In the past, most countries gave all their power to one ruler, such as a king. The Constitution gave American citizens the right to elect their leaders. This, too, was a new idea. Typically, leaders came from royal families. A king's child would automatically become the next ruler. The people had no choice. The Constitution outlined a different plan. Every 4 years, Americans could vote to choose their leaders. The Constitution was unlike any other government plan at the time. It gave its citizens power and rights protected by the law. It also gave citizens a clear plan for how the government would run. They knew what to expect from their leaders. It was an exciting idea for a new country. So I see some text features on the pages here. I see some pictures with some captions. So this is Constitution Hall in Philadelphia, and the caption says, the Constitution was written at the Pennsylvania State House, which is now known as Independence Hall. Here at the bottom, I see George Washington, and the caption says, George Washington presides over the Constitutional Convention. And then I see a sidebar here with some facts. It says 4, number of months it took the delegates in Philadelphia to write the Constitution. The Constitutional Convention began on May 25th, 1787. The Constitution divides power between the President, the Congress, and the Supreme Court. It also ensures American citizens have the right to elect their leaders. So this sidebar here has some important information, as well as the captions and the pictures. Let's keep reading. So why was the U.S. Constitution written? The U.S. Constitution was written to replace the Articles of Confederation. The Articles had been adopted in 1777. They were the nation's first plan for government. The Articles made each colony an independent state. They also united all the states together as one nation. But the Union was a loose one. The states held most of the power. The federal government had little control. Some states began acting as if they were their own countries. They began printing their own money. They even created treaties with other nations. The Congress of the Confederation ran the federal government. It could declare war, solve border problems, and make treaties. Congress did not have the power to tax its citizens. When it made requests to the states, some states often chose to ignore them. As a result, the government was often broke and powerless. Leaders knew the government needed to be improved. Congress called for a convention in 1787 to revise these articles. The delegates to the convention realized the problem with the articles with the Articles were too great to fix. Instead, they decided to start over with a new document. It became the Constitution. So there's a lot of important information there. And I see a lot of text features on this page. I see a map. Here's where the original 13 colonies were. And I see the caption. It says the 13 states often acted independently of each other before the Constitution was written. And I see the Articles of Confederation here and an explanation. It says, think about it. The Articles of the Confederation, Congress had a lot of power. Read Article 2 and 3 of the Constitution. What are some ways that the power of Congress changed? Why do you think it was important to the founders of the United States? How might the government look today if these changes had not been made? So it says the Constitution replaced the Articles of Confederation. And you see this was the document. You could see the handwriting on it where they crossed things out, they added things. Very interesting. And again, another sidebar with some more facts. So 8, that's the number of years that the Articles of Confederation served as the plan for the U.S. government. So that was 1781 to 1789. The Articles joined all the states together loosely as a nation. The Congress of the Confederation could not tax citizens. Passing laws and changing the Articles were slow and a difficult process. A lot of important facts there. So what happened at the Constitutional Convention? The Constitutional Convention was a meeting in 1787. American leaders gathered in Philadelphia to revise the Articles of Confederation. 55 delegates were chosen by the states to attend the convention. The delegates met in secret. Guards stood by the door. Heavy curtains covered the windows. No reporters or visitors were allowed inside during the meetings. This let the delegates speak their mind without fears of others being able to influence them. Instead of revising the Articles, the delegates decided to start over. First, they created a legislative branch of the government. It was led by the Congress. Members of Congress would vote to make the decisions that impacted the country. But the delegates disagreed about how to organize the Congress. States with small populations wanted the states to have one representative in Congress. States with large populations disliked that plan. They believed the states with more people deserved more representatives. Roger Sherman, a delegate from Connecticut, created a compromise. In Sherman's plan, Congress would have 2 equal bodies. The House of Representatives would be based on population. The larger state population, the more representatives it would have. In the Senate, each state would be represented by 2 people. In this way, the small and the large states would be represented fairly. This pleased both sides. It became known as the Connecticut Compromise. The delegates then created the executive branch, headed by the president, and the judicial branch, led by the Supreme Court. The delegates also created a system of checks and balances. This prevented any one branch from becoming too powerful. So we see at the Constitutional Convention, the Constitution laid out our 3 bodies that we have today that run the country: the legislative, which is the Congress, the executive, which is the president, and the judicial, which is the Supreme Court. So before we end, let's look at these text features. So we have the delegates. The delegates to the the Constitutional Convention were an experienced group of leaders. 8 of them had signed the Declaration of Independence. 25 had served the Continental Congress. 15 of the delegates had helped draft the Constitution from their home states. The men were also well educated. 35 of them were either lawyers and had undergone some type of legal training. The best known delegate was George Washington, though, who went on to become the nation's first president. Okay, so I think we're going to end there for today, and we will learn more about the Constitution tomorrow with tomorrow's media lesson. See you tomorrow, Boca El Eagles.